12 picks. It's huge, man. This is the most draft capital we've had here, and we need to hit on all 12.
Well, the odds are certainly against that, but the man of the hour for this Jaguars franchise, Dave Caldwell, takes center stage again starting Thursday night. I'd go for like 66% in this draft.
Go for 4.
That would be okay. Hello, everybody. The countdown is on. It's Action Sports Jack's prime time. And in just 4 days, the Jags will once again try again to find some good football players and lift this franchise out of its current state, which is not a good one. Brent, Martineau, Dan Hicken here tonight.
And as you see behind us, Jaguars GM Dave Caldwell entering his 8th draft with the club. Some hits, far too many misses. Only 36 wins in the previous 7 years. Tonight, we'll take an in-depth look at the man who makes the final call.
With the second pick in the 2013 NFL Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars select Luke Joeckel. The Jacksonville Jaguars select Blake Bortles. The Jacksonville Jaguars select Dante Fowler Jr. The Jacksonville Jaguars select Jalen Ramsey. The Jacksonville Jaguars select Leonard Fournette. Jacksonville Jaguars select Taven Bryan. The Jacksonville Jaguars select Josh Allen, defensive end, Kentucky.
Those are the 7 first-round picks from General Manager Dave Caldwell.
Ended better than it started.
Yeah. Let's start with those guys. And really, when you go through all those guys, part of the problem is the good ones aren't here. The other part, the biggest problem, though, the backbreaker was Blake.
Absolutely.
Right?
When you're
draft
a franchise quarterback, it sets your franchise back. Now, again, I died on the Blake Hill for a long time. He helped you get to where you want to go, an AFC Championship game or on the doorstep of where you want to go. But that was it. You know, couldn't build off anything like that. So many of these guys did that. You know, so many of these guys built toward that one season, but then nothing else. Like you mentioned, only 3 of these guys still here, Dan, and maybe 2 after this coming week. And that would be Taven Bryan and Josh Allen, the last 2. We'll see what happens with Leonard Fournette, but that's not a way to sustain winning.
No, and you know, bad enough to draft Blake, but obviously staying with Blake a little bit too long as well obviously hurt this franchise. So when we look at those 7 first-round picks, the other part that's hard to stomach for Jaguar fans is they were a lot of those guys, all but one, were top 10 picks, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's where you have to make hay. You can get perennial Pro Bowlers. A lot of times you don't miss. And again, Jags didn't necessarily miss on some of these guys, like Ramsey, but he's not here.
Right.
And I think that's the undertold part of what needs to happen right now is the Jags have to find the right mix of players.
Right.
They found some talented players.
Right.
Whether it was Telvin Smith, whether it's Jalen Ramsey, you know, those kind of guys, but they couldn't keep them here because of all the drama. And we're looking at it right now, maybe with Yannick Ngakoue and Leonard Fournette. You have to find the right formula. That's maybe the undertold part of being a GM.
And if you don't have the franchise guy, you better have at quarterback, because it's the most important position in sports. You better hit on everybody else. And so when you don't have that right guy, it really makes it difficult, especially in this day and age, to win. So we'll talk more about Gardner Minshew a little bit later. But right now for the Jaguars, we focused in on Bortles and what happened there. But we don't name all the names that were passed over year after year after year that they could have taken that would have rescued this franchise.
Well, and the biggest one being now with the drama of Fournette, which we'll get to in a little bit later on the show, are the QBs, the Watsons, the Mahomes, and everybody else. So last year's draft was good, so I guess that's a good part for the Jags. Caldwell needs to go good in back-to-back years.
Doug knows this, and we've talked about guys, and you guys have heard me in the past, where if a certain player falls to you, that you're going to exercise that pick regardless, and it's kind of a no trade player. But if there are players there, or if we're sitting there at 9 or 20 and we do like 4 or 5 different players and they're still on the board, well, yeah, then that gives you an option to trade back. Conversely, if you're sitting there at 9 and 20 and there's only one guy left and you're a pick 5, you might have to use some of that ammo to go up and get the guy you want.
The biggest challenge is knowing that we're going to be a young football team, with young guys. I really like the mindset of our younger guys that we drafted last year, and, Dave and I discussed this as, we're looking to bring people in that, have that team concept, not a lot of drama, that's just looking like, just really concentrating on being a good teammate and be able to put it out there on the field.
We got more of that no drama stuff a little bit later in the show, too. Marone and Caldwell talking this year's draft this week. There was no lunch, so I refused to attend. I was very disappointed in that kid because we care. Now, Brent, we do have some good news because here at Action Sports Jax Primetime, we are, if anything, fair and balanced.
Oh, we are. Good. For example, recently Bleacher Report redid last year's draft. Guess how many of the Jaguars draft class would go in the first round on a redraft?
Right.
Let's show you. By the way, this might be one of the reasons Dave Caldwell, Doug Marone are still here.
Well, for sure.
I think because of Gardner Minshew.
Well, and Josh Allen, look, everyone says, well, he fell to the Jags. It's a no-brainer. They still had to take him.
They had to take him, and one of their biggest needs was tight end, and they could have gone there.
If they had the redraft, Josh Allen would have went ahead of the 7 pick where the Jags were, so he would have went third. Jawan Taylor played well enough to be a first-round pick. In the redraft done by this national publication, Bleacher Report, Jawan Taylor would have went 28th.
Yeah, remember, too, Taylor was a top 10 look in that
There's
going
some worry
toward
about
that
some
draft.
injury, right?
Yeah. And then Gardner Minshew, 32nd to New England. Thank goodness he's not with the Patriots.
Yeah.
He's here instead, and now this year all is about Gardner Minshew.
Okay, so a couple other hits for the Jags. We'll list a few names here that Dave Caldwell was able to find. DJ Chark, obviously, slow rookie year, slow developing, but breakout season last year, Pro Bowl year, one of 6 Pro Bowlers, I believe, that Caldwell has drafted in his time here.
Yeah, and give a lot of credit to Keenan McCardell, too, for the development of DJ Chark.
Yes.
Brandon Linder, who these guys will say played excellent last year.
Yeah.
He at least played in all the games. He was a third-round pick.
93rd player overall.
Yeah, I mean, but he's been a pretty good find and second contract for the Jags. I would say that was a hit. And Yannick Ngakoue.
For sure.
Third-round guy who many people think if you drafted him today would be a top 10 pick.
Yeah.
So Caldwell was hired back at the end of the 2012 season. It hasn't been all bad.
The new general manager of the Jacksonville Jaguars, David Caldwell.
It's interesting when he went back and looked at the stories. Remember, he chose the Jaguars over the New York Jets, right? He had that option. He fired Mike Mularkey right away. He chose Gus Bradley to be the coach. He replaced Gene Smith. During Gene's time, he was 22-42 while he was the GM, which is basically the same winning percentage that Caldwell has.
We were talking about that the other day, too, which is astonishing because it feels like Caldwell's had better players. But their win-loss record is pretty similar to many believe one of the worst GMs in NFL history in Gene Smith. Join us for the Action Sports Jax 2020 Draft Special on Thursday night. A lot more of this talk, and, well, we'll tee it up for you as we get set for a huge draft on CBS 47 and Fox 30 at 7 o'clock Thursday. Show is in partnership with the Jaguars, Jaguars.com, so we'll have a bunch of different stories and kind of a look behind the scenes as the Jags get ready for a crucial draft, although I feel like I've said that for a decade.
That's true. But one of the neat things with this particular draft, the Jaguars have 12 picks, right?
Yeah.
So there are, I think the Dolphins have a couple more than them, but the Jaguars are one of 2 or 3 teams that can really dictate this draft, how it plays, And if I asked you, Brent Martineau, do you think the Jaguars will have 12 new football players by next Monday? I would say, not counting the undrafted rookie free agents, my answer would be no, because I think they'll trade and move around and, move up to get players, so give away a couple picks to get one.
And don't be surprised. I think there's a better than 50% chance they don't even pick at number 20. They could actually move back, but then move up with the second and third round. So I think in the top 4 rounds, they are going to be very active.
Yeah.
I think they're probably the most exciting team to watch.
What do they
Thursday.
have? 4 picks in the first 73? Right?
Yes,
is that correct?
And 7 in the first 4 rounds.
Yeah.
So, Dan, they're the most exciting team to watch in the draft, not because of just the 12 picks, but now because of Leonard Fournette and Yannick Ngakoue
no
and
doubt.
all the drama. What's going to happen with those guys? Big week with the NFL draft all the time on the radio the next few days. Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690. 10 different platforms to watch and listen. Go back and see a show or listen on the podcast. A lot of Leonard Fournette talk recently. Action Sports Jax on ESPN 690. 3 to 6, Monday through Friday.
As sporting events fell one by one, there's one thing that won't be stopped. The 2020 NFL Draft is here, and the Jaguars are back on the clock. With famous faces gone and Minshew Mania set to take over, Brent Martineau and Dan Hicken reveal the top targets for the Jags. From the official Jaguars station's living room to yours. Action Sports Jax 2020 Jaguars Draft Special, Thursday at 7 on CBS 47 and Fox 30.